Welcome to What Would You Choose? Your daily dose of fun choices. Skunk versus badger. Which one has a stronger smell? The answer is skunk. Mango versus peach. Which one has a larger seed? The answer is mango. Himalayas versus Sahara Desert. Which one is colder? The answer is Himalayas. Rooster versus duck. Which one crows in the morning? The answer is rooster. Broccoli versus lettuce. Which one has florets? The answer is broccoli. Maldives versus Grand Canyon. Which one is surrounded by water? The answer is Maldives. Clownfish versus sardine. Which one lives in sea anemones? The answer is clownfish. Taco versus burger. Which one is usually made with a tortilla? The answer is taco. Rattlesnake versus tortoise. Which one has a rattle on its tail? The answer is rattlesnake. Eiffel Tower versus Statue of Liberty. Which one is in France? The answer is Eiffel Tower. Peacock versus turkey. Which one has colourful tail feathers? The answer is peacock. Coconut versus banana. Which one grows on palm trees? The answer is coconut. Neuschwanstein Castle versus Himeji Castle. Which one is in Japan? The answer is Himeji Castle. Rabbit versus hamster. Which one has longer ears? The answer is rabbit. Cucumber versus corn. Which one grows on a vine? The answer is cucumber. Mount Fuji versus Mount Everest. Which one is in Japan? The answer is Mount Fuji. Dodo versus eagle. Which one is extinct? The answer is dodo. Grapes versus watermelon. Which one grows in clusters? The answer is grapes. Colosseum versus Hagia Sophia. Which one is in Rome? The answer is Colosseum. Flamingo versus swan. Which one stands on one leg? The answer is flamingo. Baguette versus pretzel. Which one is a French bread? The answer is baguette. Blue whale versus dolphin. Which one is the largest animal? The answer is blue whale. Mount Kilimanjaro versus Gobi Desert. Which one is in Africa? The answer is Mount Kilimanjaro. Mosquito versus ant. Which one can suck blood? The answer is mosquito. Green tea versus coffee. Which one comes from tea leaves? The answer is green tea. Bondi Beach versus Rocky Mountains. Which one has sand and waves? The answer is Bondi Beach. Parrot versus penguin. Which one can fly? The answer is parrot. Steak versus salad. Which one is made from vegetables? The answer is salad. Great Wall of China versus Statue of Liberty. Which one is in Asia? The answer is Great Wall of China. Butterfly versus caterpillar. Which one has wings? The answer is butterfly. Peanut versus chestnut. Which one grows underground? The answer is peanut. Niagara Falls versus Bora Bora. Which one is a waterfall? The answer is Niagara Falls. Llama versus camel. Which one lives in the Andes? The answer is llama. Bacon versus cheese. Which one comes from milk? The answer is cheese. Mount Etna versus Mauna Loa. Which one is in Hawaii? The answer is Mauna Loa. Shark versus goldfish. Which one is a predator? The answer is shark. Strawberry versus cherry. Which one has seeds on the outside? The answer is strawberry. Sahara Desert versus Maldives. Which one is a desert? The answer is Sahara Desert. Squirrel versus hedgehog. Which one has spines? The answer is hedgehog. Bagel versus croissant. Which one has a hole in the middle? The answer is bagel. Flamingo versus eagle. Which one can stand on one leg for hours? The answer is flamingo. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe Seendal Kids for more Would You Rather quizzes likes that.